Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to crochet this baby romper. I've included a list of the materials needed in the description below, as well as a link to the written pattern and to the size chart. In this video, I'll be working on a baby size 12 months. We're going to go ahead and make our starting loop and get it on the hook. And we're going to begin our starting chain. This is going to determine the width across the chest. So if you're doing a size other than 12 months, you can reference the size chart and just make your chain to that measurement. I'll give you prompts throughout this video on when you can take measurements if you're working on a different size. So to do our starting chain, you're just going to yarn over, pull right through the loop on your hook. Yarn over, pull right through the loop on your hook. So as I said, for a size 12 months, I'm going to go ahead and work a chain of 27. So work on your chain and then come back and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so now starting in the second chain from our hook, we're going to work a half double crochet. Yarn over, push your hook through the chain, yarn over and pull up a loop. You've got 3 loops on your hook right now. You're going to yarn over and pull right through all 3 loops. In the next chain, we're going to slip stitch. So push your hook through, yarn over, and pull right through the loops on your hook. And we're going to do another half double crochet in the following chain, and we're going to continue alternating between half double crochet and slip stitch all the way down the entire row. Okay, so you can go ahead and keep working on that till you get to the end and then come back. Okay, so now that we're at the end of that row, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. We're repeating the same pattern, but in the opposite stitch from the previous row. So because our last row ended with a slip stitch, we're going to work a half double crochet into that slip stitch from the previous row. This is what gives that really nice moss stitch texture. In the next stitch, we're going to work our slip stitch, and then half double crochet in the following. Okay, and you're just going to keep on going, alternating between your half double crochets and your slip stitches all the way down the row. Chain 1, turn your work. And you're going to keep on doing that, repeating this over and over again for a total of 24 rows, and then you're going to come back and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so I'm looking at what I ended the last row with, and I ended it with a slip stitch. We're going to increase now, so I'm working 2 in that stitch. So I want to start with a slip stitch so that as I continue my pattern, it's still going properly. So I'm going to start with a slip stitch, and in the same stitch, I'm going to work a half double crochet. And now I'm going to continue on down the row the same way that I've been doing for all of those previous rows. Just 1 into each stitch, making sure that it is still alternating between half double crochets and the slip stitches. And you're just going to keep on working this way until you get to the end of the row, minus the very last stitch. So go right to the end, but come back just before you do that last stitch. Okay, so we're here at the end and we're going to end this row with 2 stitches again. So you're just going to end off continuing on. And it's just going to be 2 stitches in that last one. So we're just expanding or increasing our row. Chain 1 and turn your work. We're going to work 2 stitches in that very first stitch again. Being sure to begin this row with whatever stitch you ended the last one with so that it does pick up with our alternating pattern, keeping that flow going. All right, so you're just going to keep on going. Now, after you've worked 2 stitches in that first one, you're going to continue on working 1 stitch into each remaining stitches all the way down this row, except for that very last stitch. Come back at the very last stitch, and here is where we're going to end the row with 2 stitches in that last stitch because we want to increase. And we're going to do we're going to chain 1 right now again and turn our work, and we're going to do the same thing 1 more time for 1 more row. Okay, so chain 1, turn your work. We're going to begin this next row with 2 stitches in the first one, and then 1 into each of the following except for that very last stitch. to go ahead working right down till that last stitch. And we're going to work our 2 stitches in the very last one of the row here. And that'll be it for our increasing. This is so it can get over those diaper bums easier. All right, so now that we finished those increasing rows, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next step now. So now what you're going to be doing is continuing on working these rows the same way you did the beginning. So you're going to go on and work 1 stitch into each one across, chain 1, turn your work. You're going to do that for a total of 22 rows. When you get to the end of it, you're just going to fasten off, repeat all of these steps again so that you have a front and a back panel, and then come back and I'll show you what to do next. All right, so now we're in the second panel. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and we're going to work a half double crochet into each of the first 12 stitches. Now this part, you can take a measurement. You can verify if you're making a size different than 12 months. You can go ahead and reference the size chart and look at the circumference for the leg to determine how wide you should be making your leg hole. This is for the first leg hole. Now, if you're following this pattern for the 12 months as well, you can just go ahead and do what I'm doing. So I'm working 1 half double crochet into each of the first 12 stitches. You want to keep in mind, we're only working, these 12 stitches are just in one of the panels. So the 12 stitches would determine half of that circumference measurement. Okay, just to bear that in mind. There is a link to the pattern page on my website where I get into a little bit more detail of how to follow those kind of instructions. So if you need a little help with how to do those measurements or anything, you can go ahead and reference that link as well. But as I said, I'm going to go ahead and do my 12 stitches for the this first half of the leg hole. Okay, so I finished 12 stitches. Now I'm going to grab the other panel of our romper and line it up. And I'm going to count into those 12. I want to make sure that I'm lining it up perfectly. So I'm going to count my 12 stitches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's where I'm going to connect my work with a slip stitch. And I'm just going to turn and continue back down the other side with half double crochets. So this will be going into the 12 stitches of the other panel that's lined up with the front one. Sorry if I'm making it confusing. Sometimes with descriptions, I know it can sound a little strange, but you've got the video here, so hopefully you're doing okay following along on this part. All right, so keep on working your half double crochets into each of those 12 stitches, so then we have a complete leg hole all the way around. Sorry, I had to pull a little bit more yarn. Okay, so my last half double crochet, and I'm going to connect into that chain 1 space with a slip stitch. All right, now I'm just going to pull a bit of that out. And so there you go, there's your first leg hole. And now we're going to chain 1 and just work 1 half double crochet into every single stitch all the way around. Okay, so work 1 half double crochet all the way around and then come back. All right, so we're back here at the beginning. I've closed my round with a slip stitch in the chain 1 space. You're going to fasten off that side and repeat again for the other leg hole on the other side of your work, and then come back. All right, so now we've got 2 leg holes. We need to close this little gap in the middle, the opening here. So we're just going to push our hook right through both sides. Grab your yarn, make a starting loop, get it onto your hook and pull it right through both sides to connect them. We're going to make a little seam here, chain 1, and we're just going to work slip stitches all the way down to the other side of just this opening. So from one leg hole to the next, we're just going to work slip stitches, being sure to work through both sides because we want to close and make a seam. One less one, slip stitch, and now you can just pull a bit up and fasten that off and just pull that right through. Okay, so now we're going to go to the side of our work. We need to close up the sides here. All right, now we're going to reattach our yarn just above that little leg hole cuff that we made, and being sure, of course, to push our hook through both sides. It could be awkward working up the side because we're not working in actual stitches now, we're working up the side of our work. So just be patient, take your time. It's always a little bit awkward for me as well. You want to make sure it's as clean as possible there. So make sure you connect both sides. And we're just going to work, go ahead and grab your yarn and make another starting loop to reconnect it to our work there. So pull it right through carefully. All right, and chain one. Now you're just going to work slip stitches evenly all the way up the side of your work to close the seam. I'm not editing this part because I think it's important to see. It's okay if you're struggling a little bit. If it's a little bit awkward, that's okay. Take your time, and it's more important just to make sure that it's a nice clean edge and that you're making your slip stitches evenly spaced. So even if you got to kind of wiggle around a little bit, struggle through it, that's okay. Because we're not working in actual stitches. As I said, we're working up the side of our work. All right, so you're just going to go ahead and keep on working those slip stitches all the way up the side of your work, completely right up to the corner. We don't need to leave armholes for this because this is just kind of going around under the armpits, and then we're going to do our little tie strings for the shoulder straps. So work your slip stitches all the way up, fasten off, and go to the other side and do the same thing again, and then come back. All right, so now we're going to work on our straps. So I like to work about 2 inches in for this size. And you can grab your measuring tape and just measure to make sure it's even on both sides. I like to measure it, make sure about 2 inches. That's where I'm going to push my hook in and work on the first part of my straps. Now, you're going to get your hook in there to hold your place. Go ahead and make yet another starting loop and get it onto your hook and pull it through. All right, and we're going to chain 35. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so I'm chaining 35, and remember, we're going to be working this 4 times. So 2 in the front, 2 in the back, because they're going to be ties. They're not like set straps. Okay. Now working in the second chain from the hook, we're going to single crochet. Push your hook through, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. All right, so go ahead and work 1 single crochet into every single chain all the way down. All right, and when you get, so you're going to go all the way down. When you get to the bottom, you're just going to slip stitch into that same space that we connected our yarn to, and then repeat for all the other strings and come back. Okay, so now we are going to work on weaving in our tail ends. So I just like to get my yarn needle, and I don't worry about trying to hide, like I have a lot of length to my tail ends. I'm not sure if you guys even hide it, maybe as you go. Sometimes I do that. Usually I don't. I don't know. Weaving in my tail ends is not my favorite thing, but I just weave it in and out of a couple of the stitches. Right now, remember, our work is inside out. So it's easy to do and see what you're doing right now because your work is still inside out. So just go ahead and weave in and out of some stitches, grab your scissors, fasten it off, repeat that for all of the tail ends, and then you can flip your work around the right way, and you're done. Your baby romper is finished. I hope you enjoyed this pattern. Don't forget to like and subscribe.